Live your life within the moment, and don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away. To the groove and the light that flickers. We get lost in the crowd, it's getting thicker. We get away from the drinks and chatter. Haven't said a word, but it doesn't matter. Feel the air get thinner. I'm standing in a blurry dream. No one else can see us. Live your life within the moment. And don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away. The air get thinner. I'm standing in a blurry dream. No one else can see us. So let us dance this night away.
Good evening and welcome to Be More Super Live. It's another live. We're back again. We did an awesome live last night with Christina Bennington from Halo on Paramount Plus, and we're following the trend with Paramount Plus because there's a show that's just started a new season, but it's going to be the final season. I know, which is, of course, Star Trek Discovery, and what a guest we have got for this evening's live. Literally, this man has been in so many epic movies. One actually turned 20 yesterday, which was Hellboy, which I just want to quickly, before we talk about his character on Star Trek Discovery, just quickly go over that with him because it's such a great movie. It's one of my favorite. I mean, Hellboy for you, Dan?
I'm really angry that it's 20 years old. I just realised my age in a really sobering way. Thank you for ruining my Thursday night there, Brian. Really appreciate it.
But let's get this guest on. It's, of course, the wonderful Doug Jones. Doug Jones, welcome to the show, sir.
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Brian, Dan, everyone watching. There's so much love.
Do you know what? It's so nice to have you back because, you're such an absolute legend in my eyes when it comes down to movies, because literally from Pan's Labyrinth to Hocus Pocus to Hellboy. I mean, let's talk about Hellboy just briefly because it turned 20 yesterday. How crazy is that? And it still holds up today. It's my favorite Hellboy adaptation. I've got so much love for that film. I mean, just briefly, I mean, any memories that come to mind that has stayed with you for the past 20 years of working on that, as obviously Abe, as we can see on the screen just there. Any memories?
Oh gosh, tons of them. But yeah, and the weird thing about it being 20 years old is that I'm only 26, so I'm not sure how that math works out.
Someone's done it wrong somewhere.
It's very good makeup, obviously. Yeah,
what I'm wearing today, yeah. But no, Hellboy, the first Hellboy movie was my second movie with Guillermo del Toro as a director, but it was the one that really cemented our relationship. I'd met him, I'd worked only for 3 days on Mimic before that, about 5 years before that. So this was such an experience. It changed my life. It was a page turning moment for me, that where I became a little bit more known in the industry and in the public's eye a little bit. So that part of it was like, nah. But the other part was that, you're doing a comic book film with so much fandom already built into it. And it did not disappoint. I mean, the fans of the comic books loved the movie. And that's because we were under the direction of Guillermo del Toro, who is a huge comic book fan. He's a nerd, he's a geek, and he loves to make movies that give him a geekgasm. And if you want to come along for the ride, you're welcome to. So
It's interesting you bring up the fandom, Doug, because obviously that's two huge, relatively huge. Well, one of them's an absolute mega truck, isn't it, of fandom and people inflicting their opinions left, right, and centre. Can that be a little bit overbearing sometimes?
no, not for me. No, I don't know. Every actor is going to be different and handle it differently. For me, when you are an actor coming into a property that's already had a built-in fan base and already has a family built, and they kind of think of themselves that way because they've already bonded with each other. They've already been the ones who have supported that franchise and kept it alive. And when you're coming into it, you are an unwelcome guest until you prove yourself. That's kind of how I feel. So, so with both with Hellboy, and also that happened with the Silver Surfer for me too, when I did the Fantastic Four sequel. Marvel has a huge fandom already built in, and you're coming in as a beloved superhero. Good luck, So, and so of course, the other one you're probably talking about is the Star Trek franchise, which is a 58-year tradition and legacy now that is multi-generational, been handed down, and you're coming into that with a new show, back in 2017. And there hadn't been a new series on since Enterprise, which had been many years. So here we are with a new show. Of course, we're going to be up for some. Is this going to be good? Is this going to suck? This isn't my Star Trek. Of course, you're going to have that. And I welcome those comments, actually, because those fans are the ones that's the reason we had a show in the first place. That's the reason we could come back with a Star Trek legacy behind us, is because those fans built it. So I want to please them. My number one priority is to please the fan who's watching it, whatever the property is, whatever the project is, because they're the ones who bought my house for me, not the studio so much.
And now you're forever cemented in that Star Trek sort of world, which is crazy. And I've got to say, the last time me and Dan went to Prop Store HQ, who are our sponsors, they basically deal with screen used costumes and props. And we actually saw your Silver Surfer there, the costume, and your Abe costume as well from Hellboy.
Abe kind of imposes on you as you come in the front door. He's right there, isn't he? And you're kind of like, oh, good Lord. And then, when you meet people from the silver screen, as it were, you kind of, you're not underwhelmed, but you go, oh, I thought you'd be taller. You know what I mean? It's like an industry gag, isn't it? Right. But Abe did not disappoint. I mean, Brian and I are good 6-footers, and we were kind of like, good Lord. That is a lot of prosthetic.
And that was Abe Sapien from the Hellboy movies was the longest day-to-day makeup application in my entire career. It was roughly 7 hours a day. When you saw me in just shorts with all that blue fish guy showing, that was 12 prosthetic pieces from head to toe to glue on and to blend edges in and paint over with my shaved skin underneath. It was a lot.
So I suppose that is the lasting memory of over 20 years ago, I suppose, is all that time in that chair.
Yeah. And someone posted a video on what used to be Twitter, X now, yesterday, on the anniversary day. It was Guillermo del Toro and me toasting with beer. I don't drink beer, but he forced a beer in my hand and he made me take a sip of it, because that was the day that I wrapped Hellboy 1. And I remember we were in a dry for wet set. It was kind of the sewers underneath the ground, where I was kind of like searching for Samael eggs. And we did all that in a dry studio with water effect added in post production. So there we are in that set, and that's when that was my wrap day after 3 months on the movie, and I remember being so incredibly relieved, and that last makeup removal from the makeup trailer was heavenly, so we celebrated a lot that day.
So let's talk about Star Trek Discovery, because I love it how you're known now as Action Saru, which I just think so good. And obviously, we discover in the first 2 episodes of season five that you have a few more abilities that we haven't seen before. Which I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but I was like, what? And in the words of Michael Burnham, there's never a dull day. And I've got to say, the start of season 5 definitely starts off amazing, like literally off the floor, running straight away. And it's finally here. So when did you wrap shooting for the
Oh,
show? Because it just seems a lifetime.
it was a lifetime ago. Yeah, we finished filming season 5 in November of 22.
Wow.
So all last year went by, but it was in late February, early March that we got the news that that was going to be our final episode after we'd already shot it. So they had us come back up to Toronto. They opened the studio up again. The network Paramount Plus gave us a budget to go back and shoot an epilogue that we could tack on to the last episode to give you the final closure that you're going to need. And I hope it'll satisfy, because it certainly did me.
That is so refreshing to hear,
Yeah.
because there's too many shows that get cancelled before,
Yeah.
we get sort of closure. And I actually avoid watching shows knowing that they've been cancelled, because I don't want to, fall in love with a show and then be left on a cliffhanger and never know what's going to
Dangling.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really
Yeah.
good of Paramount to do that.
It was, and it was not a cheap endeavor to do that. So I really applaud them for giving us that chance, and that's really another kudos to the fans for insisting on it. Probably.
Well, the fans have definitely got a lot of voice, and there's a lot of shows out there that sadly have been cancelled that the fans have really got behind to try and get back on our screens. So what was it like going from season 4 to season 5 and getting back into the mindset of a Kelpian? Because do you sort of leave it all behind and then obviously think to yourself, oh, I've got to get back into the character Saru, or do you take Saru with you once you've finished filming?
Oh gosh, over my 38-year career, I've probably taken a piece of every character I've played with me, I think. And so, well, and they take a piece of me too. I think that it's an even exchange. But between seasons, we've had long hiatuses between all of our seasons on Star Trek Discovery. So I'm good at clocking out. When I leave, ka-chink, I'm done for the day, and I can move on to other things during that hiatus time. So, but then getting back into it, I do take a little bit of a sigh, like, okay, here goes, because he's not easy to play, physically or mentally. Because I have always been a little bit afraid of memorizing dialogue since I was in my teens, and on a science fiction show like this with paragraphs of exposition and science terms and other species terms. And then when you're on the bridge of a ship and you're in command that day, you have to name everybody by their rank and their name, and then give some explicit, detailed, order. No, so that part, I have to gear up for that going back into a new season.
But
So
there's also an element of that the fans will know better than you as well. I mean, you're on the show, and if you don't get that command right, if you
right.
call somebody Bosun instead of Henson, there's going to be all hell to pay, right?
Right. Or if you're on the social medias referring to, hey, watch tonight's episode, because I think I got corrected on away team, away mission, landing team, what it was officially supposed to be called. I don't know still.
Well, when you say that you take every a piece of every character, hopefully you haven't taken the character from, I think it's Legion, the ice cream man, because he's terrifying. So hopefully you haven't taken a piece of him with you.
Yeah.
This season, well, last season towards the end, we see Saru have a bit of a romance, which I've got
Oh
to
yeah.
say is so beautiful and it's so well done. And I'm just literally holding out to find out what happens. And then obviously this season we see it flourish. So what can we expect without spoiling anything? Are we going to find Saru finding his love and being all happy?
Yeah. That relationship has been such a treat to play, and with its slow build. We've had the courtship of like a British frock drama. It's been very dignified, right? And with President Tarina being a very dutiful president of the planet Navarre, and Saru being a captain, and they both are, have acted in diplomatic ways, and so with each other they're kind of diplomatic as well with their romance, which has been hilarious to witness. And season 4 built us up where we were hinting that we kind of liked each other, all the way to the final episode where we held hands for the first time. It was, again, very subtle romance, but I was sitting in a screening of it with a live audience of that final episode, season 4, just a month ago when I was on the Star Trek cruise, the charter cruise, which is hilarious. If you've never been on that, it's 7 days of utter mayhem. But in this screening of the season finale of season 4, when it got to that moment, the entire audience, 1,000 people, were going, "Yeah!" We're
Oh yeah.
cheering for this holding of hands. So I'm thinking, oh, this might be like a favorite relationship to watch. I don't know. It's really, really satisfying when you're in a room like that. So season 5, before we started filming season 5, one of our showrunners, Michelle Paradise, called me with hey, welcome back kind of a Zoom call. Let's talk about, what do you want to hear about your character this season? And I don't want to hear too much ahead of time. All I wanted to hear was, do Saru and Tarina continue with the love? And she said, "Oh, I think you'll be very happy with what happens there."
Oh.
So you've already see episodes
Mm,
1 and 2, Brian.
yeah.
You said so. So you know that in episode 1, um, Saru gets a promotion offer from the Federation, and how his relationship with Tarina weighs into that is all played out in season 1. And by the end of that first episode, you'll see where we're headed, and
I
it's
think
really
it's.
beautiful.
I think yeah, exactly. It is beautiful because you see it in its purest form. When you say the holding hands, and you could see that connection between them, and it's just sweet. It's like childlike as well. It's sort of like it's gone
Mhm.
back to basics, which is really nice to see. What I wanted to ask you as well is that we see a lot of action in the first 2 episodes, and it got me
Yeah.
thinking because we see Saru, running extremely fast, and we see a lot of jumping around. I mean, is there a stunt double, or are you doing all that yourself?
Oh, there is such a stunt double. Yes. Uh, I'm yeah, no, and I'm proud to toot his horn. His name is Boston Camilleri. He's been my stunt double. I think he's based in Toronto, but he's also American. He's got dual citizenship. So it's hard to find a tall, skinny guy who can take a hit and live through it. So when you find that stunt guy, yeah, you keep him. And Boston has been, he doubled me on The Shape of Water is where I first met him. He doubled me on in What We Do in the Shadows as well now, and then he doubled on all 5 seasons of Star Trek Discovery. So he has been a treat. And when running around a forest, which you're going to see in episode 2, where Burnham and Saru do the two of us do an away mission. I think.
Watch these comments now, Brian. Watch these
I
comments.
know, I know. That's not what it's
Yeah.
called. But, but, and we have forest to run through, and things to find and clues to unravel. So, yes, so that involved, and we're also being like shot at by robotic things. So we have a lot of action and a lot of firing back, and so I am now 63 years old, and so when I'm in those hoof boots and I'm running around like do, 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 it's hard enough on a flat floor on the bridge of the ship. Now add uneven terrain to that with tree roots, rocks, branches laying. Oh my gosh! So I think I'm going to twist an ankle, break a hip, something. So anytime it got rough, Boston, your turn.
You're up. You're up.
Bring him
I
in.
But I
love that.
What was that, Dan?
I
no,
just
yeah,
said I absolutely love that. But Doug, was there a part of you like when Boston was introduced that you were like a stunt double for me, darling? I do all my own stunts. Are we already at the
yeah.
age where you were like, yeah, absolutely stunt double, sign me up?
Oh
Where
yeah.
where do I write my name?
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, so many of us actor types have a certain pride, like, well, I could probably do this on my own, probably. But but when it comes to the older I get, I have no problem at all letting someone step in for me. I think they're the unsung heroes of Hollywood. They really are.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
We've had a couple on the show, and they're in this wonderful little fraternity, and they're so
Mhm.
vociferous in terms of protecting the stunt community because of
Yes,
the way that CG has gone over the last couple of decades.
yes,
They're very protective over it, and you really can tell that there is a magic behind doing practical stunts rather than getting the computer to do it, as it were. And I'm really enthralled every time we have a stuntman on this show. I could sit and stare into their eyes and go, "Oh, I wonder how you got that scar. I wonder how you got that one." That's it. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's kind of sexy, right? I know.
Yeah, isn't it?
Well, I've got a mark on my head just there from where I was play fighting with the wife, and
Oh, you could do it then. You could be a stunt double.
she got me with a nail. So I don't know how sexy that is, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let's look at the character of Saru a bit more in detail, because I've got to say, having all that makeup, having those boots, as you say, I mean, how much of that contributes to the character? I mean, when you put all that makeup on, or the magicians do, you know, how easy is it to get into character once it's all on?
The makeup process is part of getting into the character. It all comes together with a script, consultation with your writers, with your director, if it's a movie, and then the makeup process does inform um, your some idiosyncrasies, some physicalities, some how you walk, what your posture is, can all be informed by that. And with Saru, it was those boots. I put those hoof boots on, but put your foot at an angle, like a high heel position with no heel behind you. So you have to kind of put your weight over the ball of the foot, and that kind of changes your hip carriage and how the line of your body. So I found myself hips forward to center my weight, and I think, oh my gosh, and as tall and skinny as I am, it's like I am a supermodel on the runway, right? So and then my arms had room behind me to do that side to side sway that I just kind of like came up with within the first minute of wearing those boots. And when I took that onto the set, and no one ever told me not to, so that's his walk forever now. It's stuck.
See, I think all the models out there need to have Saru to teach them how to walk down that runway, and do it elegantly, because there's so many footage, there's so much footage out there of these models falling over, and they're not even on high heels. So
I
Saru
know,
could
boy.
teach them a few things. One of the fans of the show, Julia Plews, wanted to ask. She's put, "Hi Doug, how long does your prosthetics and makeup sessions take for discovery?" Because I know obviously you mentioned for Abe. I mean, how long is
Right.
that process?
In contrast to the Hellboy movies, where it was about 7 hours a day, Saru is very fast by comparison. He's only 2 hours a day. But what you're looking at has been worked on for weeks ahead of time. So that means that the prosthetic pieces were pre-sculpted, pre-painted, pre-molded to fit only me. And so when those pieces come, they're pretty ready to go. Then getting them onto me is the last step. And there's complete coverage. A cowl goes on first. That is the entire back of my head and neck. A face piece goes on over that and blends in the edges. And then there's a chin piece and a bottom lip, and the rest is all ready. So 4 pieces that go on quickly, and they're already ready to blend into each other. 2 hours a day. That's as long as it takes Sonequa Martin Green to get her wig and makeup done. So it's like that's pretty fast.
Excellent. And how do you bide the time? I know you say it's part of getting into character, actually getting the makeup on, but have you got any like rituals that you go through while you're in that chair? I mean, do you read books? Do you listen to music?
No, I mean, listening to music, yes. But the good thing about me is that I don't need to be doing something all the time. I don't get stir crazy. I sit and stare at a wall and drool on myself really easily.
Oh my
So,
God, what's that like?
so
I'm really jealous
I
of
know,
that.
right? So I'm kind of built for the long, tedious process that I've been
Mhm.
through over the last 38 years. But but I can't. You can't really do much with your head down reading a book. A lot of actors take their phone in there with them and do the scrolling, texting, watching of you to down like this, and your makeup artist is like going, can you we just get you so so I'm good at tuning out and zoning out, but I'll talk to my makeup artists are always like interesting, hilarious people, and we tell lots of stories and we laugh a lot. And sometimes if you're lying back in a chair, you can doze off if you have to,
Oh, that'd be
depending on how
amazing.
much they're working around you.
That is
I,
incredible.
I love that. Is there a moment where the character, and this might sound weird, but the character kind of lives in the mask? Like, I've been hosting these brunches of late, and I have to be a game show, and I've got this big sequin jacket and this weird hairpiece that I have to wear. And as soon as that
Yeah.
hairpiece and those sunglasses go on, let's make a deal. All of a sudden, the character lives in the costume. Do you kind of go through that process a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of like that theory if you've heard influencers on the social media saying if you want to be happy and you're depressed, just put a smile on your face and your heart will respond to the physical, right? So I think it's true with this kind of thing. Yes, you put that right swoopy wig on, you put that right alien face on. It's like, yeah, there it is. I'm
There I am.
back. Right? Yeah.
Right, Doug, we're going to do a sponsors message, so don't go away. We'll be back in about 20 seconds, won't be a second. So, yes, so sponsors, propstore.com. I've even got now a little thing at the bottom of the screen.
Oh
So,
my
if you
God.
visit propstore.com, you
Go.
can check out this awesome company that sells and buys literally screen used props and costume pieces. And it's always fun to go down there. They've got some great auctions. I've beat you to it, Dan. So, if you want
I'm just
10%
thinking
off,
that. No, I've sat here every week for over a year going, do the code, Brian, do the code, do the code. And now you've got a little ticker and you've taken the punchline away from that now, haven't you?
exactly, exactly. So if you want 10% off at the buy now section
What's the code?
on their
Do the code, Brian.
website,
Do the code.
it is Brian
10% off. Do the
10. So
code.
Brian 10
Yeah,
gives
come
you
on. He's
10%
still got
off
it.
anything at the buy now section. That's over 5,000 items that they've got based in the UK and in LA. So check out propstore.com, our sponsors, and let's get back to our awesome guest,
I tell you
Mr.
what, Doug, he's good at that. I've been trying to put him off for over a year now to while he gets through that speech for our sponsors, to tell him to shout to do the code, and he manages to pull it off every time. One day I'm going to make him corpse. One day.
So I wanted to ask. Obviously, I've seen the two first episodes of season 5. I mean, what can we look forward to from Saru for the rest of the season? Because I've got a feeling it's going to be very, very exciting. I mean, is Saru going to go off and say goodbye to Burnham, or are we going to see him again? I hope so.
Right. Well, and now episode 2, I'm trying to think. Did it end with some resolve about where I'm going? I can't remember.
Yes. Yes.
It did. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So and it's already out there. So whoever's watching, you can see it soon. I told you that the love of Tarina and Saru is kind of like there's a decision made in episode 1. In episode 2, there is this excursion to another planet with Burnham, and then at the end of which he's made a career decision, and So there is a transition and change for him, and that might involve stepping off the ship for a minute. So what you can expect. So if Saru, if there's a couple of episodes I don't show up in, do not worry, I will be back. Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
have you got a favorite moment or scene from this coming season that we should be looking out for? Is there a certain episode or certain scene that you can maybe tease that you think that we all would love to see, Saru?
Right. Right. Well, I think that in episode one, the scene between Taru, that's our combined name, Saru and
Is that the
Tarina.
combined name?
Taru.
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
that like
Yeah.
Bennifer with Ben
yeah.
Affleck and Jennifer
Exactly.
Lopez? Is
Exactly.
it that?
And
We need to
and
hashtag that.
Yeah, I
yeah,
like it.
yes, it's T apostrophe Ru, R-U, Taru. We, in fact, Tara Rosling, who plays Tarina, she and I came up with that on our own. We were thinking, like, should it be Serena or Taru? We like Taru better. So anyway, the scene where our relationship comes to a resolve of what's going to happen next. That one I loved, where we're standing by a window in a hallway and just the two of us having a quiet chat. And then at the very last episode, I have a verbal showdown with a baddie, and I had a monologue that was a full page long. And while I'm in a shuttle with Non, if you remember, a Non played by, oh gosh, names are, I should have looked this up ahead of time. I loved her I love her dearly. um, she's piloting this shuttle, and I'm sitting there with all my diplomacy, trying to get through a moment. And I had to get very confrontive with my words with this nemesis person, and it was the most confident, rapid fire, here's what's going to happen, take it or leave it kind of moment that he's had more of those moments since he went through Vihari in season 2 and lost my threat ganglia and got more confident and more courageous. This is a scene where I was wearing a diplomatic outfit in a space shuttle, but having like the most like confrontive and not taking no for an answer kind of. It was gorgeous. So because I'm not that way in real life. So when I get to fake it, it's like I have power. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. So I tell you what, I'm just going to drag it back a bit to probably 2017 when your incarnation of Star Trek started, because I know that the Trekkers can be quite intense because, like I say, it's a nearly 60-year-old franchise, right? And is franchise the right word? Am I gonna get cancelled for saying franchise?
No, it is.
Franchise, yeah.
Right. So I what was it they used last night? IP. I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It's a 58-year-old IP, right? So I was saying last week on the show when we know you were coming on about how sometimes it's been difficult to try and maintain newer fans because it's got the Star Trek caveat to it, and the original series went on for so many years, and then Generations was so massive, but you kind of have to start again because there's no real passover of characters, so I guess what I'm asking is, how long do you get before you're accepted into the, I mean, all right, you've been doing your one now for 7 years, you're okay, right? You're not you're not struggling, so you're positioned well to answer this. So how many episodes, or do you get the first season, do they have to digest it a bit, or is it literally, have you got like 20 minutes of the first episode to try and grab a new audience, as it were?
Right. It felt like the 20-minute plan, but honestly, everybody sits back and watches a few before the opinions that I trust have taken in most of that first season, and then it's like, you know what? And when I did my first Star Trek convention, and I've done the convention circuit for many years now, pop culture, horror, sci-fi, comic book conventions, but a Star Trek specific convention is thousands of devout fans. And when the line formed at my table at this first Star Trek convention I did in Las Vegas, and I think that was in 2018, so after the first season had aired in its entirety, one person after another kept saying, "Oh, we just love you. Welcome to the family." I heard that
Oh,
quote many times.
congratulations.
Yeah, no. So I felt like the country
I
cousin
mean,
who
bear in
won.
mind, for a fan base as so vociferous as the Trekkers. I mean, that's high praise indeed, Doug. I mean,
Oh,
you
it
must
was.
that's you could take that to the bank.
Yeah.
Well, do you know
Well,
what?
and again, that I,
We're gonna miss. I mean, there's a comment here. I mean, I'm gonna miss this show so much. And Take What Away, they're called on YouTube, is said, I'm gonna miss the Discovery team and thank you for your amazing work, Doug. I mean, you know, looking back, I mean, your story arc over the seasons have been incredible, and what the show does is incredible as well, from the visual effects to the story to everything. I mean, looking back, and there's probably too many moments, but have you got a moment that will always stay with you, either on set or offset, on working on Discovery?
yeah. Well, hmm. I think the onset experience that I had that has bled into the off-camera interaction with our audience was in season 2 when I went through that Vihari, and I thought I was dying because I'd been living under a lie from our predator species on my planet for so many decades, so many centuries, and now I'm on my own on the ship, finding out that Vihari and going through that transition is not my death. It's like an adolescence changeover. I've kind of gone through puberty, and I have hundreds of years ahead of me now. How old does a Kelpian get? I didn't even know, and I didn't live in fear anymore. I had this newfound. It was released when my threat ganglia fell out. That was gone, and I had this newfound confidence and courage that we were talking about. That has resonated with so many people, including myself, because I have lived in anxiety and fear of the unknown. If there's something around the corner that I can't see, I'm instantly afraid of it, whatever it is. Uh, every time I open the mailbox, please don't be something I can't answer right away, or please don't be a threat from the, a corporation or a government, something that I can't handle. So, so. I have adopted Saru's way of handling things now. His situation around him didn't change. We're still faced with a new threat out that bridge window every day. There's imminent doom and peril that we have to fix fast. So, but what did change was his reaction to it. Instead of being like, we're all going to die, you can react to things with, we're going to get through this. We're together and we've done this before. We're going to do it again. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can put that into my real life when I open the mailbox or when I try to look around the corner of what's next. And I found that so many fans in the audience have had that same reaction, and they have contacted me on the social medias and to tell me that that Saru helped them get through their own anxiety, depression, fears, when they're making a transition in their life. Maybe they're finishing a PhD and they have a whole new career ahead of them that isn't there yet, or they're going through a relationship breakup or a new one with all the fears that come with that, and they've taken a note from Saru on how to get through it. That is so incredibly satisfying to hear.
Do you know what? There's many actors out there that don't realize that the power of being a storyteller. The fact that people watch this show to maybe get their mind off things that they're going through, and it helps them out. And I just think it's fantastic. It really, really is. And then I wanted to ask, obviously, with the season obviously ending now, you've wrapped filming. Did you manage to keep any keepsakes from the show?
What did you steal, Doug? What did you rob? What did you steal? Come on
Doug
now.
doesn't
Well,
steal.
I had permission. I had permission for all this. I do have a pair of my first pair of hoof boots from season 1.
Oh wow!
I don't know where I'm going to wear them and with what outfit, but
when you're doing the catwalk training for you know what I mean, America's Next Top Model, when that comes back,
There you
we'll
go.
get you in. You can bring your little boots, and they go, "I'll show you how this works, Tyra Banks. We'll sort all this out. Don't you worry about that."
that's right. Tyra, I could teach you a thing or two. Yeah. So I also kept my It was on this side actually, because our Delta badge was on this side. On this side, I had my Kelpian High Council pin, the brooch that I wore on my uniform. So I had an addition to my uniform that no one else had, made me kind of special throughout season 4. And so that Kelpian pin, the last one I wore in our big finale, I kept that one from the prop department. They had a couple of duplicates, but I kept the last one that I wore. I also, when my last, I told you that Saru makeup goes on in 4 pieces, and it's built to get it off. At the end of the day, they cut it up the back and put adhesive remover in here, and slowly peel it down, and it comes off as one piece. Well, that one piece was cleaned up, and I have it in a plastic bag. So
Yes.
on my
In a
very
plastic
last
bag?
Saru face.
It should be
Yeah.
on like a
Amazing.
mannequin head in a case.
It should be, and I've seen people like get mementos and display them beautifully in like a plexiglass case with its airtight and preserves it. Mine's in a trash bag, but I love it.
Excellent.
That's the. I mean, tell you what, Doug. That's the second best answer we've had for that question. The first one we had the
Oh.
director of Dog Soldiers on, and he had the head of one of the werewolves, which I quite enjoyed. But the question that you answered prior about your character, about you as a human being taking advice from the character that you play. That is and I wanted to say it at the time, but I didn't want to break you up. That's genuinely the best answer I've heard on this show since been doing it. I genuinely like, and then Brian to follow it up with, people don't understand what storytelling does for people. It really does. It really can take you out of yourself. And I could listen to you say, that's genuinely the bit that I'm going to listen back on. And I never listen back to anything I do. I can't stand the sound of my own voice.
Thank you,
Which
Dan.
may shock.
So let's talk about a few other things that you're doing. So on in social media and online, you are starting to do a documentary about your career with the awesome Derek Mackey from Cool Water Productions. I've got to say, I'm so looking forward to this documentary. I presume it's going to be 6 hours long. Because of the amount of work that you've done. I mean, what process are you, and what can we expect from this documentary?
Right. Well, a young documentary filmmaker named William. There goes the last name. I don't know. But anyway, William is brilliant. He did a documentary about the Planet of the Apes that is on Amazon. You can find that's really just like gorgeous. And so he is a friend of appearance manager Derek Mackey, who's been handling me for my convention appearances for 16 years now. So Derek has known me like firsthand and seen me interact with fans and seen me, give panels, and he's heard every answer to every question ever. So he's a perfect. He is coupling with William to be a producer on this documentary. And so they're pulling together interviews from anyone who's ever worked with me, family members. So it's taking a lot of pre-work, and they've already gotten some footage of me interacting with the crowd at one of the Star Trek Las Vegas conventions, and then they've also they were also on set with me for the final epilogue shoot last April for Star Trek Discovery. So they filmed my entire final makeup application and removal. And I'll tell you, in that, when Saru's head came off in one piece, I held him on my hand like this, and and the music was playing. My makeup artists know that I love Whitney Houston, so they keyed up "I Will Always Love You." So I ended up singing the entire song to my mask. And I might have teared up a little bit while it went on, and they recorded the whole thing. So I hope that makes it into the documentary. I hope we get rights to the song.
I tell you what I'd love to see, and given that this documentary is in its infancy, Doug. Now you can take this. I'm not going to want any royalties from it, because I feel like this should be in. Is if you put the garb on, and you did a talking head vox pop as Saru or as Abe, but the caveat is that they both thought you were an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, and I kind of like, so, Abe, tell us about what you were thinking of. Well, I just hate the guy.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe Billy Butcherson from Hocus Pocus, because he gets kind of a rough attitude here and there. Yeah. That'd
Yeah,
be
yeah,
good. That'd be good.
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
it got me thinking. The documentary. I mean, have you got any plans on a memoir? Writing a book.
Uh, Funny you should mention that, because a literary agent from New York, from a very prestigious high end agency that handles lots of big authors and lots of big public figures for their memoirs, reached out and contacted me through manager Bruce. To He simply said, "Is Doug interested in doing his memoirs? Because if so, I want to represent him for this." And he has all the contacts in all of the publishing houses. Uh, so I said, "Well, that's an yes, yes. I think we're going to do it." So it's a matter now. Now that's also in its infancy. Taking my 63, now almost 64 years on this planet, and putting them into a book, and trying to find a start, middle, and end to a book. That's a that's a heavy task, and it may require a co-writer that I can tell my stories to, and yeah. But anyway, that has been talked about. It is and all the elements are in place, and so it's just a matter of writing now, and who knows how long that's going to take.
Can we have Saru do the audiobook, please? So if I want to download and listen to it, I want Saru to read it to me.
Yeah, either Saru talking about Doug Jones's life, or it could be Baron Athanas from What We Do in the Shadows talking about this Doug Jones person. That'd be a lot to listen to.
Yes,
But speaking
absolutely.
of Baron Athanas from What We Do in the Shadows, that show is also in its final season, filming right now. Season 6 is going to be their final one, and they have invited me back. I've been a recurring character since the very beginning as Baron Athanas, and the Baron will be coming back for about 3 more episodes of season 6. And I still have yet, right in a few days, I'm flying up to Toronto to film that last episode. So it's kind of been a year of finality on a few fronts.
And it's really nice to actually see your face on camera more, which I've got to
Yeah,
say. I
yeah.
mean, I know we spoke about Jerry, that is an absolutely wonderful
Oh,
film that I've told Dan he's
yeah.
got to go and watch. And then obviously in season 4 we see you in Discovery and we see your face, and then you're allegedly going to film a film with one of the guests that we had a few weeks ago, Jamie King. You're
Oh,
going
I
to
just
film.
finished that. Yes, we just wrapped.
Oh,
It's
okay.
called The Weight of Darkness. Yes. And I am a human being. I play this from a wheelchair, actually, and there's a reason for that in the story. And yeah, it is a suspense mystery drama, and I got to flex a different kind of acting muscle to do it. It was really, really satisfying. Yeah.
She was she was an absolutely wonderful guest, really really spiritual and really homely, and
She's
I
very
could have
centered. Yeah.
absolutely listened to her for hours. We had to cut her off, didn't we, Brian? We kind of had to. We need to get her
Yeah.
back for a part 2. We only kind of got halfway through her career. It was so, but not in a she droned on type of way, like a really deep dive into her life and
Yeah.
career and her relationship with her son who popped his head up as well. It was absolutely incredible. How did you find working with somebody like Jamie? I mean, she's had a hell of a time.
Yeah, no, she my first day meeting her, I was like, "Jamie, hi, I'm Doug Jones," and she went like, "Oh," she brought me into this embrace without, and it didn't let go. It was like, "Okay, this is really nice." Yeah, and then we parted, and she held my hands and was wanted to find out everything about me, and we have mutual friends that she's worked with before as well, so that I've worked with too, and so we kind of caught up on that kind of thing. But she was delightful, and such a consummate professional. She took a scene from the page in the script and made it very much her own, with her own. She infused things into the character that I didn't see in the page, and it was brilliant to watch. This movie also stars Angus McFadden, who was Robert the Bruce in Braveheart, and also Corbin Burnson, who was on that TV
Mm.
show L.A. Law for many years,
Yeah.
and also the baseball movie Major League. So
Mm.
it was great to work him, and Angus Benfield is the star of it, and he's also a producer. So I now that we're wrapped, I have no idea when we can see this, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'm sure when it does come out, we'll be talking about it. But talking about hugging, because you are a hugger at conventions. You like hugging and showing a bit of love to the
Hugging.
fans.
I thought you said hooker.
No, what? What?
You said again. What I heard was, speaking of hooking, you are a hooker at
Oh
conventions.
dear.
You
Oh,
love hooking, Doug. We're leaving that to the last 5 minutes, Brian. You've dropped that one
I
early,
know,
pal. You
I
okay?
Yeah.
know, I
Okay. That's
know.
a note to end
Oh, I
on.
do
Catch me
apologise
on the
if that's what you
convention
thought.
circuit, everybody.
That is so funny. Hugging,
Hugging.
cuddles.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yes.
obviously the last time we spoke, when you was on the show, it was COVID time, and now the conventions are back and they're going strong, and you're meeting a lot of. Someone's put on here. Um, I heard the same thing.
It's
Thank
your
you. Thank you for validating me.
it's your Nottingham accent, Brian.
Oh,
See
it's my
down
Nottingham
here.
accent.
I've lived in the south now for a while, Doug. So I've learned to curl what they call the flat vowel. And Northerners,
Ah,
where Brian and I are from, we will say
ah,
hug and
hug.
grass, dance, bath, and hug is a great one. And when if I'm dropping an F or a C bomb, I've kind of had to curve it a little bit. So I have down in the south, they have to say hug. And you can understand it a little bit more. It's because Brian's not left the home counties any. You know what I mean? He's stuck up there in minor town,
Hug,
being all
hug.
rural.
It is a miners' town, I've got to say. So you're back going to conventions. I mean, how is that to go back meeting the fans? Because I know that you love meeting fans. So what's
Yeah.
it been like?
Oh, it's been glorious. And to because even the first couple conventions back, after the shutdowns, and all the cancellations that happened for over a year. My first convention back, there was a piece of plexiglass between me and them, and
Mm.
everyone's we're required to wear masks or they can't come to the table. It was like a lot of the conventions put a lot of rules on, because they have liability to worry about. I get it, but it was like, when you are a hugger toucher type person and you can't. Yeah, it was it was so frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm really glad to have access and have welcome arms. It's
Oh,
lovely.
that's wonderful. And you're very busy with the conventions. So you're at German Film and Comic Con May the 4th, Texas Frightmare
Yes.
Weekend in Dallas on May the 17th,
Yep.
Southern Nerds Festival in Biloxi. I love the name Biloxi. It sounds cool. May the
Biloxi,
25th.
Mississippi.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fanboy Expo Knoxville on the July the 12th. And then your trek to Vegas. So the Star Trek convention in Vegas on August
Wow.
the 1st. But you know what,
Right.
Doug? Thank you so much for coming onto the show, and a massive heartfelt thank you for giving us Saru and all the other spectacular characters throughout your career. May we get many, many more. Thank you for all the watchers, the viewers and listeners. Don't forget to hit subscribe. But I was going to call you Saru then. Doug, don't go
Welcome.
anywhere. We're going to end the stream, and we're going to say goodbye properly afterwards. So thank you for everyone for watching. Dan, thank you for being a co-host from heaven. And Doug, look after yourself. Keep safe.